Hey everyone, it's time for some more Monster Hunter. Today won't be a very eventful episode, but I think we'll only be on the 4-star quest for a couple more days. By next week we should be seeing the actual high rank monsters and other things that might have changed now that we are in high rank. Still, I hope you enjoyed today's video. That said, let's get right into it. I just want to give a massive thanks to all of my Patreon supporters. This is the most direct way to support the channel, and they give me the motivation to keep going every day. Now, in general, I usually try to do videos pretty quickly, or at least missions that don't take a whole lot of time. Because I am late doing this today, again, I think I'm just going to do a couple of these shorter missions. So right now, it looks like we have Lost Prey Hunt and Show Me Your Cooking Skills. Cooking is something I'm pretty good at in this game, and I figure that for people who need to brush up, it is a good learning opportunity. Although, that does remind me, in Monster Hunter Wilds, I think it's actually the first Monster Hunter game where they changed the cooking minigame. Now, I don't really know how to explain it, but as somebody who's cooked in just about every generation of Monster Hunter, it still has that feeling to it. You can kind of predict where you need to, press the button in order to cook the meat properly, get a well-done steaks. But in addition to that, there was this weird knife-cutting mechanic. I'm not really sure how I feel about it, but basically with the knife-cutting mechanic, you have to time the knife presses in time with the character's animation as he cuts the meat. And I think normally if you don't press the button at all, you only get 6 well-done steaks, which, don't get me wrong, I understand the need to, streamline getting meat and the actual gathering portion of it, but I'm not really sure how I feel about it in general. I do appreciate they are bringing back the cooking with actual ingredients, and I am pretty excited to see what all we can go out there and actually get. Oh, is there a Kutku here? No, those are Aptamon. I think there was a Kutku that was going to show up, though, if I remember correctly, but I'll probably ignore it if it does show up, honestly. Still, though, in terms of cooking and wilds, it was very strange. There is a different jingle and a different feel to it, but you can kind of tell based on the end of the song. So instead of having to wait a couple of beats after the end of the song in order to get a well-done steak, I think it's just kind of like the steak sizzles. It sizzles and does this funny little animation with the texture changes, and that's kind of how you tell when you need to pull it off the fire. So I think it's a fun new way to cook and all, but I am pretty mixed on getting, 12 steaks from a single piece of raw meat, I guess. Although I guess considering the size of monsters, it does kind of make sense, especially considering how big the, sizes of meat are whenever they do eat them and cook them and everything else. I feel like that could feed at least a few people. Of course, I do feel like nothing could really beat the classic. Just in terms of Monster Hunter and cooking, this is just so iconic. Something that is pretty bad news, I would say, though, is that I am a big fan of playing the PSP games, but the server I usually use, the Stereoverse, I believe it's actually down now. I actually have to concentrate when it gets to that part, because I have to count the beats in my head, but in terms of a Stereoverse, it's normally what I use, because for some reason, Hunsterverse just doesn't work with my internet. All I can really do is play the game. I can't stream or browse the internet or anything else, but I'm not really sure what causes that. However, it does look like Stereoverse is down, probably for good. I do feel really bad about it. I think it was my preferred way of playing the PSP games online. But I am hoping something else will come out and kind of fill in that void. I know the servers were in Southeast Asia, so they weren't the best servers, but it wasn't like a huge setup process or anything. There wasn't any accounts that needed to be made. There wasn't any worry about bans if you, said something offensive, whatever else, which I think, people shouldn't be doing hate speech and all, but at the same time, I think if you want to play a game, like, locally online with just a couple of friends, I think a Stereoverse is really the best way to do it, because all you did was pretty much download a certificate, direct the VPN to it, and boom, you're just playing with your friends, and you can do whatever you want, you can use whatever you want, you can play whatever you want, you can say whatever you want, and I don't know, there's just something that feels really restrictive about playing an old game on fan servers that have, like, not rules and regulations, but just, it kind of limit what you can say and do. For example, I'm somebody that likes to, well, I won't say debug, but I guess, like, test equipment, like late game equipment and things like that. So, just in terms of playing the game, sometimes I'll download a save file. And of course, when I play normally, I use a legitimate save file, but for some reason, there's just a lot of servers, there are just a lot of options to play online where if you use a downloaded save file, regardless of your intent, you're just automatically banned from them. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand, if you play online with other people and whatever else, sure, I get it. But I feel like there are ways that rules can be implemented, rules such as that don't necessarily interfere with people's ability to actually enjoy the game, without impacting the experience of other people as well. But I feel like that's a little controversial. That is just my hot take on it, and personally, I do understand why people don't want someone using, like, a save file, or, like I said, with rules and stuff being in place, but for something like a Stereoverse, it was very generous with pretty much providing a server that you and friends can play on. And I feel like in terms of, wanting to play online, sometimes you just want to boot up a system and play with a friend instead of having to go through a whole setup process or having to worry about, accounts being affected and everything else. Now, I am saying this as somebody who plays on the old school Monster Hunter Discord, and I personally feel like they do their rules well. And of course, they do have rules as well against, like, cheating and using, downloaded save files and things like that. But at the same time, I just wish there was an option where you could literally just boot up the game and play locally with a couple of friends, or even somebody like me who has a community. I think it would be pretty nice to just be able to play as a community, and you don't have to worry about accounts or anything, so I could just download a file and then play it. Although I know it's a bit more complicated than the PS2 servers instead of the PSP ones. Now, they did actually get in the way of streaming and I guess playing the online games as well. I am currently looking at other alternatives, and I can't really find anything that was quite as simple, for lack of a better term, as a Stereoverse, which, honestly, I think that's really my biggest reason for enjoying it so much. It really was just as simple as download OpenVPN, download a certificate, and then you just open up the certificate inside OpenVPN, and then you can connect, and that's it. I haven't really found anything as simple as that. There's a couple of, like, web options I saw, but you have to, like, configure your own server, and you have to like, deal with IPs and stuff. Okay, well, I guess with Stereoverse, you also have to make sure the IP address was correct, too, but that was it. It was literally just a 3-step, quick and easy process. But I tried one yesterday called, like, Zero Tier or something like that, and you had to, like, go to a website, and you had to put in these IP addresses, or, like, find an IP address, and I was trying to get it to work, and I just couldn't. So, I'm somebody who's not very smart. So, a simple thing like a Stereoverse was very, very helpful to me, and it's definitely a tragedy, in my opinion, that it is no longer up and running. Even something like Huntstaverse I struggle with. It was pretty simple, but there was a couple of steps in the process where I just kind of didn't click and I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do. And like I said, yeah, not a very intelligent person, but I definitely do my best. I get very distracted very easily, so whenever there's instructions are like very quick and simple, it's a pretty happy day for me. I'm actually really surprised the Kutku is still here, so I'm going to see if I can actually take it down. If I can, of course, I do think that's pretty unfair. Now, there is something with Monster Hunter in general. I think Monster Hunter Wild still doesn't really, for lack of a better term, address the problem too well. Okay, let's get out there. But with Monster Hunter Wilds, sometimes you can still get roared into attacks that you just can't dodge or get around. And I really wish they would take out that level of artificial difficulty. Like, don't get me wrong, like, they're streamlining the game in ways I like, they're streamlining the game in ways I don't like, like getting 12 steak from, a single piece of raw meat. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of that because I feel like that's a bit too generous and kind of breaks the balance of stamina management, and even the point of stamina management. Because with the older games, each one was, like, you get 2 bars of stamina from a single well-done steak, which incentivizes you to cook them well, but you only get 1 well-done steak from 1 piece of raw meat. But, even though they're streamlining the games in that way, where they're, like, kind of trivializing some aspects of the game and just making it easier in general, something they haven't really dealt with, in my opinion at least, is that sometimes you fight monsters and they can just roar, which will stun you, and then immediately do an attack after that, which, arguably is artificial difficulty. At least if you don't know how to perfectly, and I mean actually perfectly, iframe the roars, or if you don't have a weapon that can block. If you're not in either of those two camps, then you're pretty much screwed, and I feel like it is unfair. And you could say, arguably, hey, just learn to iframe the roars. But as somebody who has been playing Monster Hunter for several years at this point, the first time I iframed roars was during the Monster Hunter Wilds open beta test. And even then, I have no idea what the timing was. I just kind of dodged when I felt like it. I was like, oh, dodge now. And then I dodged, and then I got through the roar. And it was very inconsistent. I only did it a couple of times. But I feel like if they're really going to streamline the games, instead of like giving you a million stakes or, you know, a million potions and supply items and everything else, it is my opinion that they should just, you know, focus on other aspects of the game, like don't let a monster stun lock you into roaring roar stun lock you into an attack that you can't avoid. And I feel like that is, you know, inherently a part of the Monster Hunter experience, but like I said, if they're going to be streamlining, I feel like that's part of the Monster Hunter experience. They should focus on streamlining, so there's less, you know, for lack of a better term, artificial difficulty in the game. Personally, I think Dark Souls did the, for lack of a better term, not artificial difficulty, but just difficulty in general, much better. Because each enemy has a clearly defined attack and hitboxes and, you know, wind-ups to show you when they're going to attack and how they're going to attack and where they're going to attack and when they're going to attack. For most of them, anyways. The Bed of Chaos is kind of trash. But when it comes to ambushes, because the Souls series, it does ambushes a lot more than a lot of other games, and it's kind of well known for that. When it comes to these ambushes, you really can just look around the corner and kind of see an ambush coming from a mile away if you just pay attention. And when it comes to dodging roars in Monster Hunter, I feel like the timing is too strict in order to make it fair. Because whenever you try to dodge through a monster's roar, the timing does really have to be almost frame perfect, at least in my experience. Of course, if you do get earplugs or a vague extender, it doesn't apply to you, but I'm talking from like a new player perspective. You know, since I'm already here and I've already fought the Cutco a little bit, I think I'm actually going to go ahead and try to take him down and just make it this one mission for today. I'm going to try not to make each day like a single mission, because I feel like that would defeat the purpose of doing these types of videos where I'm just trying to actually play through the game. Because if I did a single mission a day, I would never finish in my lifetime. However, this week in general has just been a bit of a struggle, for lack of a better term. I've been doing my best, but I'm definitely exhausted and fatigued, and I have been trying to work on getting a job that doesn't make me work for literally half the day. Once I can get into that sort of position where I can have a bit more free time, this will definitely be a lot easier to do, and it's definitely something I'm trying to shoot towards. But in addition to that, there's also a couple of things I have to take care of as well. Even if I can find that sort of job, I am going to have to wait until I can get a laptop and a couple other things. There's some debts and, you know, the laptop and the giveaway and a couple other things I have to financially address before I can pretty much just go out there willy-nilly and get a part-time job like everything's okay. But as is, I'm not super worried. I can handle it for now, and I can kind of make it through. So I'm not too worried. All I really got to do is just get past the next, I would say, 6 months. Probably the next 6 months. As soon as I can get past that, you know, if I'm not making just enough to live off of this by then I should be okay to like find a part-time job so I can focus more on content creation. Now, of course, something I am a little worried about is I can hear the mail links out there, and I don't want to steal one of my items, but I can't figure out where it is. Something that's definitely throwing me off sometimes, though, is that I know that in the newer Monster Hunter games, you press R2 to say block with the sword and shield, but that's not an option in Monster Hunter 1. In Monster Hunter 1, R1 is block and R2 is sprint. And I remember when I was playing the Wilds beta, it took me a couple hours to get used to that, because basically every time I would try to block, I'd wind up putting my weapon away because I was trying to sprint, and the monster would get a hit in on me. I may be wrong though, but I feel like the monster's rage states in high rank feel a little bit longer. I could be wrong though. Maybe not, and I'm just really slow on as far as like time on the brain goes. Because I know that just the last few days, like I said, I've been tired and things kind of felt like they've been dragging along, but I am trying to get back into that groove of making a video every day, streaming every day, and just kind of like interacting with the community more and, you know, being an entertaining guy. I'm done experimenting. I think I've kind of found the flow and the format for my channel that works, and I'm going to start trying to focus more on doing that. Something I can appreciate about the newer games, though, is that something I didn't really realize in old gen is how, for lack of a better term, aggressive the wind pressure is. Because it feels like you can be quite far away from the monster and they'll still knock you back with the wind pressure. However, in the newer games, and I think there's a couple of games in general though where this isn't really too much of an issue, there's like hardly any wind pressure at all. The monster has to land like right on top of you in order for you to get stunned. One thing I am pretty grateful about is the, for lack of a better term, lack of chip damage from just being close to the monster, because as a melee user, that's definitely a huge problem. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be right beside the monster, so it would only make sense that you're going to be within range of, well, I guess for lack of a better term, it's legs and getting that chip damage. Now, I'm going to see if I can get Cutku down to low health. If I can, I'll probably just call it quits on the quest. Not call it quits on the quest, but just wrap it up. But as is, I didn't really realize how short the time was. I think it is only like 30 minutes, isn't it? But yeah, I'll see if I can just quickly blitz him down, and if I can't, that's fine. I'll just go ahead and fight him again when the time comes. Now, as I said before, I did remember somebody saying that the Cutku is like a fake charge, or a fake-out charge whenever he's in high rank. I don't think I've seen anything like that yet, but I've been trying to keep my eyes open to see if there's any new moves I haven't seen yet. So far, though, it does feel pretty standard. Of course, that isn't an excuse to slack off, because even as somebody who's very experienced fighting Cutku, you know, has easily fought dozens, I'm still pretty close to getting chipped to death because I'm being reckless. So yeah, definitely don't be reckless in these games. It only leads to you getting carded. And in the most embarrassing ways, too. Oh, I forgot that tells the hitbox when it does the bite. Now, I don't know exactly... well, I guess we'll see in just a second, but... okay, yeah, so... oh, no! Okay, so blocking would have been the better option. Yeah, alright, so it looks like Cutku's getting out of here. I'm pretty low in health. I'm getting low in supplies, and I'm low in time, so... I still have a few more stakes to do. I have just enough to make 3 more, which is what I need to complete the mission. I'm gonna go ahead and get that done. I'm gonna take my loss as is. Oh, is he doing a flyby? Oh, okay. I don't know if he was doing a flyby or flying away, but as is, yeah, I think that's good enough look at Cutku for high rank. I need more time to fight him. My guess is it's probably gonna take me about 15 or 20 minutes in order to actually beat him solo. Now, I'm not going to be soloing a lot of these multiplayer quests. The main reason why y'all have kind of just been seeing me the last couple of days on these quests is because they are really simple quests. But what I might do is whenever I start doing the actual hunt quests, like the Velociprey Lords or something like that, I'll see if I can gather a couple of people together in order to, say, hunt down a Rathalos during these missions and kind of spice it up. Something I am pretty surprised about in Monster Hunter Wilds is that there really is a lack of Rathalos. So I feel like they're going to be going the try route where they're kind of going to bring him in later in the game. Like, maybe if you go into Scarlet Forest, I'm thinking Rathalos might be in Scarlet Forest. Or there might be another forest area just beside Scarlet Forest that will be in. Either way, I'm really surprised they didn't bring Rathalos or any original monsters into the beta at all, because it felt strange playing a Monster Hunter game, and all that was there was the Shogama, Balahar, Raydown, Chattacabra, which they are fun monsters. But I think we can all agree Monster Hunter is kind of known for its... I don't really know how to describe it exactly. It's not nostalgia baiting, it's not pandering, it's just bringing back old monsters while introducing new ones in a way that I feel like all fans can appreciate. And just seeing a bunch of new stuff, it felt a little weird. Kind of like how they removed Charizard from Pokemon. It's like, how do you, or was it Blastoise? It was one of those. One of the big starters they removed from, like, Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's like, okay, I can understand removing something like, I don't know, maybe Zigzagoon, because it is a, you know, a minor Pokemon, but having something like Rathalos not in the open beta, or heck, even Cutku. I mean, come on, bring my boy back. Let us see him already. I was definitely very excited to play against the Cutku, but I was pretty sad that there wasn't any, like, secret boss like a Cutku or a Congalala or even the Chematrees. Although I think we did find its nest during the beta. Alright, I think that's enough yapping for one day. Thank you everybody so much for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like on it, and leave some comments down below if you can suggest different VPNs I can try now that Asteriaverse is down for playing the PSP multiplayer games. I'd certainly enjoy playing with the community, and going through a whole bunch of steps, or having to troubleshoot just, you know, something not working that has a bunch of steps involved, or whatever else. Just something quick, simple, and easy. Preferably something that uses OpenVPN. So if anybody has any ideas, do let me know, because I am really excited to hop back into Portable Third and Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, especially since I'm using the Complete Edition now and I have access to event quests. definitely very excited about that. But even so, if you want to see more content like this, just be sure to subscribe. Maybe turn on that notification bell if you want to get notified every time I upload. Although I will be trying to upload daily, so I can understand leaving it off so you don't get spammed with notifications, for lack of a better term. You'll probably be getting like anywhere from... Golly, I didn't even realize. Anybody who has that bell turned on probably gets 2 to 5 notifications from me every day, including the streams and the polls and the community notes and everything else. But if you appreciate what I do and you want to support the future of the channel, check out my Patreon, linked in the description below. That way I can finally get past low rank, high rank. Bye now.